like to start looking at CSS. So here is our roadmap. So far we have completed HTML to define the page content and structure. It will be with us for the remainder of the semester. We'll keep using HTML throughout the semester, but the basic foundation, you have it now. Hopefully you do some practice in the lab and you will do some more further practice in the assignment and hopefully some further practice in the project that I'm working on and I will release as soon as possible. So you have 3 layers of applying with different levels of complexity. Okay, now we have our page. In fact, let's start with some simple page in here without any styling. Yep. And then we will make it, we will go ahead and style this page. We will see the basic concepts of styling and what it means. Okay, so before I go into CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, let's see how do we change the look and feel of a document using an experience you're already familiar with and you already used so many times. So let's say you have a Word document like this, and you want, let's say, you see those strategies, which is a title, like a kind of a header. Yes, thank you. It's a header. Or maybe I can come here and put, let's say, Qatar University as the title of this document. Now, how do I go about changing the presentation or the look and feel or the style of this document? What do I do? What is the first step? Select. So that's the basic concept I want you to basically be aware of. So I go ahead and select, or another way to say it, highlight what I want to style. For example, let's take that title, make it bold, centered, increase the font, change the font style, and let's make it centered, for example. So how do I change the style of the title? First step is to select it. So I'll go ahead and select it. Different way of selecting it. I can use the mouse and select it like this. I can use the keyboard and select it like this. At the end, I need to select the content that I want to change the style of. And then once I select what I want to style, yes, change which properties I want to change. In our case, I want to change the font name or the font being used from Calibri currently to Times New Romans. And I want to change the property font size. Can you see here font size? Go ahead and make it 36. And I go and change which style is this? The color, the font color to be blue. And then change the alignment to center. And maybe I can even put a box around it, for example. Yeah. And I can even change the spacing. See here the spacing. I want 12 points before and 12 points after. Something like this. Yeah. So that's basically the basic concept. If I want to style something, I go ahead and select it, and then I go and change some properties of what the content that I have selected. That's the basic idea of what styling is. So let's try to apply the same for our document. So in here, this is some document that I will just go ahead and let me go ahead and view it. So here it is. And let me open in with live server. Here it is. So here is my page. On the left side is the source, and on the right side is the actual rendering of the page on the browser. Okay, now There is, of course, some default style out of the box that the browser have applied. This style is already defined by the browser developers. The Chrome developers already have some style for H1 and for H2s and for the paragraph. Already they did some default formatting and default styling and default look and feel. That we are not so happy with. We want to kind of change it a bit. Let's say we want to go to this header 2 and make it blue. As an example, let's go ahead and make it blue. So one way to do it, which is not recommended, never do this. I can come along and say style equal color blue. That's one way of doing it. And I can do the same for this one, style color blue. Sorry, change the border. Oh, sorry, yes. Okay. Blue. So I can come to a particular element and assign my style to the style property or the style attribute. So let me save. Control S to save. No, not really. It's not required if I'm not having multiple. I'm not changing multiple things. Maybe I'm not looking at the. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, no problem. Let me just run it. Run it with open with live server. Just want to open it again to make sure I'm looking at the right page. Okay, so you can see here, this H2 has changed to blue. The color has changed to blue. So by simply assigning my style, which is the property that I want to change, column, the desired value that I want to assign to this property. So this is called inline style. Inline style, I come to the element I want to style and assign the desired style to the style attribute. Not recommended. Just be aware of it. It's there, but never use it. And why this is bad practice? So basically you have some duplication already there. There is some duplication of the style. And the other problem? Yeah, basically you are mixing the content with the presentation. And that defeats the purpose of CSS. The whole idea of CSS is to do what? Separate the presentation, the look and feel, and the styling from the actual content. So never do this. Inline style, it's not the proper way of styling. So a little bit better way, although not ideal, I can come here and basically define a style tag. And inside here, I come along and define my styles. So first, let me save just to show you that this is back to the default behave. In here, I want to go ahead and make my H2s blue color. So what's the first step? Select the element that I want to style. In this case, I say to the browser, whenever you see it's H2 in the page, I want you to go ahead and change the color to blue. Control S to save, and you can see it's changed to blue. Yeah. So this is one type of selector, which is called element selector. I select elements by tag name. Using the tag names you already learned, like H1, H2, paragraph, date, article, section, whatever. So you say here, so at the end of the day, a style is a set of rules that you define as web designer, and these rules are made up of two parts. The first part is what? The selector, the elements to which the style will be applied. And then you open the curly brace, and inside the curly brace, you create what is known as declaration, which is nothing but the property you want to change, colon, the desired value you want to assign to that property. And if you have multiple properties, you separate them by semicolon. So in here, you will say, for example, font size. Font size is, let's say, 30 points. So let's save. You can see this will increase 30 points. Yep. So here, that's basically the idea of CSS styling. I select something and I go ahead and change the properties to some desired values. In here, I change two properties, the color and the font size. So the general syntax of CSS, the CSS is made up of rules. I can have as many rules as I wish. And each rule has a selector and then curly brace. And inside the curly brace, I have what is known as declarations. And a declaration is nothing but a property colon value, separated by semicolon. That's the syntax. Is the idea clear? That's what. So to learn CSS, what do you need to learn? Two skills you need to learn, which are the selectors and the declarations and the properties, the common properties. CSS is huge. There are so many properties you can change. You will then use the 20-80 rule. Hopefully, you will learn 20% of the most fundamental, the most commonly used properties, and the rest will come with experience and with practice. You cannot learn all the properties. Nobody knows all the properties. There are so many of them. But you will focus on the main ones to get the job done for 90% of cases. Okay. Now, this is one type of selector. Let's say I have here this paragraph. You see this paragraph here? It's an important paragraph. Quiz 2 will be next week, let's say. And I want to make it more clear, like give it some style to make it kind of pop up, and you will not miss it when you read this page. So one way to do it, I'll come here and give this an ID, and I will, let's say, give it an ID of alert. I want you to be alert to this one. And then I can come here and I select that alert. I select that paragraph that has the ID alert, and I'll come along and I will say, okay, I want to make the color here orange red, and I want to make the background color. I want to make the background color, let's say this bisque, for example, and I will go ahead and save. You see here, it changed that particular element on the page. I can go ahead and change the font size to large. Save. You can see the font size is a bit larger. Okay, so this is one type of selector. What we call this type of selectors? Element selector. And this one? ID selector. So I'm targeting a particular element by ID. And go and say, okay, you elements that have this particular ID, this is the style I want to apply. Another way of doing it, similar to Word, you see here in Word, let's say I have these strategies. I want to style this header or this heading. I want to style it. One way I can do it myself. I want it to be this font. I want it to be, let's say, this brown color. I want it to be, let's say, the font size is 26, bold, and I want it to be centered. That's one way of doing it. I'm changing the properties one by one by myself to the desired values. Another way of doing it, what's another way of doing it in Word? Apply predefined style. Thank you. You see here styles. There are some styles already predefined. Who defined these styles? The Word team. The developers of Word define this style. You can also create style by yourself and give it a name. So they created these styles, give them a name, and I can take those styles and basically select some content on the document and apply a predefined style to that content. So all I do, let's say I make it a heading or a heading 2, or let's say this one, for example. So I apply this style. Let's say this is a quote. Somebody, this is the words of some person. I can highlight this and make it an intense quote. So automatically it applies, makes it blue, makes it centered, and put a line on top, a line on at the bottom of the content. So that's another way of applying style, is to create a style, give it a name, and then go ahead and apply it to any element that I wish. So let's do the same in CSS. So I can come here to my here, and I can create, let me create something similar to this. In this case, I will give it a name. So this is an alert message. And basically, in CSS syntax, this is a style with this name, alert message, and I put in front of it a dot. So this is the syntax. In this case, I created a named style called alert message, and this is the style of it. Let's change it a little bit. So what color we can do here? Just make it orange. The color, let's say yellow, for example. The fonts, the font, let's say 30 points, for example, or 28. Okay, let me save. Then this is a style that I define. I give it a name, and the name is prefixed with a dot, and I can apply it to anywhere. Let's say I want to apply it to this H1. All I do is say class equal alert message. So this is a named style. In CSS terminology, we call it a class. Anyway, that's how they named it. Call it a class. And then I take that named style, that class name, and apply it to some element, any element I wish, similar to what we did in Word. So a named style in CSS, we call it a class. In terms of syntax, the class name, when we declare it, we prefix it with a dot. So this way, the poor browser does not need to think too much. Anything that's not preceded with anything, it means an element selector. Anything that is prefixed with hash, it is an ID selector. Anything prefixed with a dot is a class name. In terms of priority, the more specific is the one that will take the priority. So the ID is more specific, like it's targeting a particular element. So for example, let's say this says orange. You see, let me just first save just to see the color. You see, this is the style that we apply to H1. So let's try here and say class equals alert message, yes? So we have two styles applied to this. We have an ID selector, style applied using the ID selector, and a style applied with the class. So which one was the winner? There is some conflict, because the class says the background is yellow, and the ID selector says the class is bisque. Okay, this weird color. Let's make it green. Easy. Which one win? The ID is the winner. So there is some precedence predefined in CSS. The ID selector will win over the class, and the class will win over the element selector. Yes, please. Sorry. prefixes? Yes. Mhm. Yes. So far, let's just summarize what we have seen. So what do we use CSS for? Well, we didn't ask ourselves, first of all. What do we use it for? For styling. What do we mean by styling? Okay. So that's basically the presentation and the look and feel. That's what the styling is. There are two practical aspects of styling. One is the presentation. I mean the colors, the fonts, the font family, and so on. But there is another part of the styling, which is a layout or the positioning of the elements on the page. So, for example, remember when we saw QE website, it has a layout. This is a 4-column layout. This is a 4-column layout. This is not a table. Never use tables to define the layout. So this layout, which is a 4-column layout, is defined using CSS. I want to have a 3-column layout or 2-column layout or 3-column layout. Or I want to have like a header, a body with 3 columns, then a footer with 1 column. You see here, there is a footer. The footer has only 2 columns. The footer has 2 columns. The news part has 4 columns. This part, this research has 3 columns. Can you see it? And the events has 4. And this news or this statistics has 2 columns maybe. So this is the layout. The positioning of the elements, the spacing between them is also controlled by CSS. We will see how to do this, of course. So what we can do with CSS is 2 major things. Control the presentation, the look and feel, and the layout. Which, when I say layout, it means the positioning, the spacing between the elements, and do we want them to be stacked beneath each other or like next to each other in some kind of column layouts? All of this is controlled by CSS. Now, in CSS, when we learn CSS, we need to learn 2 things, which are, what are the 2 things we need to learn? The selectors, how do we select elements? And then the common properties that we commonly change to change the look and feel and to change the page layout. We need to learn those. Now, in terms of selectors, to get started, we started with these 3 selectors. Of course, there are so many others that we will cover. But what are these 3 selectors? Element selectors. What are these element selectors? The tags, the HTML tags you're already familiar with. You tell the browser, whenever you see this tag, go ahead and apply this tag. The other selector is ID selector. Very rarely used. You shouldn't avoid using because it's too specific, not reusable. Very rare it's used. You go ahead and basically select a particular element on the page by ID and you choose the style. A much better way of doing it, a class selector, which is what are you doing when you create a class? You're creating a name style, some piece of style, give it a name, and then you go ahead and apply it to whatever element you wish. How do you apply apply the name style to a particular element? By assigning it to the class attribute. Okay. Now, for the poor browser, not to be confused, we give it a little bit of hints. If the selector does not start with anything, it's prefixed with anything, it's an element selector. An ID selector is prefixed by hash, and the class selector is prefixed by apostrophe. Okay. Who defined the syntax? The CSS people. So some group started this movement, and now who takes care of CSS? The same organization that takes care of HTML, which is W3C. It's a standard language. All the browsers understand. When you say color blue, or like Firefox, Internet Explorer, Chrome, all of them, they implement it the same way because it's a standard styling language. Basic idea clear? Okay. Now, when it comes to putting the style, in the HTML page, we've seen the first way we should never use, which is the inline style. I come here and assign some style to the style attribute. This is called inline. We never use. The other way is to do, this is called embedded style. I put the styles in the head of my page under the style property, under the style tag. Under the style tag. This is still not the best. Why? You're still kind of mixing, but more importantly, this is not reusable. You know, a website usually made up of hundreds, maybe thousands of pages. If you put it embedded, you cannot use these styles. They are buried in here. They cannot be used in other pages. So what's the best way of defining the style? Is to use external styles. So cut them from here. And typically, most developers will create a CSS subfolder or styles subfolder. And inside there, you go ahead and paste your CSS. Go ahead and save. And then you go to your page. This is the page you want to apply the style to. You simply go ahead and say, I want to link my style sheet file to my HTML page. So I'll go ahead and say css/styles.css. So this file is now linked with my HTML, and all the styles that I define in this style sheet file are available in this HTML page. And I can reuse this in as many pages as I want. So this is the most recommended way of adding styles to your page. Put them in a separate file and then link that file to your HTML. And this ensures consistency. You know what consistency is? Same look and feel whatever page you go to. It's very important for an organization. In QU, for example, a simple way to get in trouble with the external relations. This is an image of the organization. So if you put a page that is not consistent, if you go to engineering, you see there is a consistent look. You know, our college has kind of orange. The College of Medicine, they have this dark brown kind of. College of, which college is this? Engineering. You see this orange kind of thing. This one, this is the QU one. Okay. All right. The law, the College of Law. Anyway, my internet is not working, but they are blue. Although medicine is supposed to be blue. Anyway. You see, there is a consistent look and feel. Whatever page you go to, you will have the same style. This is important for an organization image not to be in one page the title is kind of orange, in another page it's purple, and another page it's yellow. It doesn't give a kind of professional image about the organization. So consistency is important, and how to ensure consistency is by using external style sheets. In fact, as an organization, you will define those styles and you make them available to the web developers so they can use them in all the current and future pages. So far clear? The key idea of CSS and how is it defined? So let's just do a quick review of what we have seen so far. So this is the basic syntax. The basic syntax of CSS. CSS is made up of rules. I can have as many rules as I wish. These are rules. I'm telling the browser some rules to apply to my pages. This is one rule, another rule, another rule, and each rule is made up of a selector, and then a selector, and between curly braces I have declarations, and each declaration is name of the property that I want to change, colon, the desired value that I want to assign to that property. So that's the very simple syntax. Sorry, can you say again? The inline style. The inline, which means you are putting the style, assigning to the style attribute. In terms of priority, that's always the winner. So basically, the more specific has precedence. The specific style always has precedence over the kind of general style, which we will come to that concept and why is it called cascading in the first place. So let's just let me just come back here. Okay, so this is the general syntax. Now, I already discussed this. This is what we use cascading style sheets for, is for controlling the presentation and the layout. So in this week we're supposed to focus on the presentation, and inshallah next week we will focus on the layout. How do we define the layout? And the key idea here is to separate the content from the visual appearance. And the best way to do it is to put CSS in the external file and then link, as I discussed before. I think this is already super clear. These are the three ways to incorporate CSS in an HTML document. Inline, embedded, and external is the best to ensure consistent look and feel across all the pages and to improve reusability and maintainability. Reusability means you can reuse the same style in multiple pages. And maintainability, if you need to change, you change in one place and it gets reflected on all the pages. Now, cascade. What this cascade means, the name Cascading Style Sheets. So in a large organization like QU, for example, you may have a style that applies to all the pages in the whole organization. And then you may have some style specific, let's say, to the College of Engineering. And then you may have some style that is specific to the CSE department. So what you do, you define the common ones. Let's say in this scenario, we define the common ones in a file called QU styles. And then we have the College of Engineering style, and we have the CSE style. And if there is a conflict, means you are one file says the color should be blue, another file says the color should be orange, another file says the color should be orange, let's say orange red. So which color will win? The last one that you specify in the order in which you mention them in your CSS. So you take this. What I mean here just let's just do a quick example together. Super quick. Here it is. So I come here and say new file. I'll call this one QU style.css. Let's just define a simple one, a class, a named style called title. If I want it to be a named style, what should I do? Prefix it with a dot. So all the titles and all the pages of QU, we want the font family, let's say, to be Times New Romans. If it's not there on the computer, go ahead and use Times. Otherwise, use serif. So these are three fonts. Use the first one. If it's not available, fall back to the second one. If not available, fall back to the third one. If not available, fall back to the default fonts defined by the browser. Okay. Now, I'll go ahead here and say, all right, this one, I will make the default color will be blue. And I want to make the, let's say, the font size to be, let's say, XXL, extra large. Okay, let's just keep it simple. This is the default title for the whole QU website. Now we can come along and create yet another style. Let's see, hopefully I can do this. General Engineering Styles.css. Let me just rename this one to styles. So the College of Engineering will come and say, okay, I'll define same class. Let's see, hopefully it will work. And in here, I will make the color orange red as an example. All right. And then let's come to our simple page in here. Here's our simple page. Yes, thank you. And in here, I'll come along and say, I want to apply QU style followed by what? The College of Engineering style. And CNG style. And then let me save. And just this header one, I will make this a title, yes? Let me save. Just to make sure I'll open it, live server. Did I save all? Yep. You can see, let's make it large just for you to see the difference. Come on. Or 50 points. Let me save. So you see this one now is the actual size. You see, if I come here and do inspect, yes, the duplicate ones. You see here the title, the actual font, the font family, and the font size is coming from QU style, but the color is coming from College of Engineering style. You can see here the default style has been crossed and replaced by the color defined in the College of Engineering style. So this is what it means by cascading. So the things that are common that you did not override, let me just come here. The things that are common and you did not override in a specific style will still be applied. And the ones that are specific, let's say in our case, the College of Engineering will override the generic ones that you define in the QU style. And this is super important. Why is it important? So I don't duplicate these common styles. I put them one place and give some default behave, and you can override it in other files. Yeah. And although you can see here, although I am redefining this style, what is the name of this style? Title. And the name of the style in the QU style is also called title. And basically, when I apply them, it will be the QU style plus the College of Engineering styles merged together. And who wins if there is a conflict? The last one mentioned when you link them with the HTML, the last one will win. You see, if I come back here and change the order, I'll move this one CNG, and this will be QU. What's the color of the title will be blue. It will be blue. See here, it's blue. So the order in which you mention them is important. And basically that's what cascade means. Like the last one will win. If there is a conflict, the last one will win. And this is one of the strengths of CSS. You put the effort on common ones once, you define them once. You can put some default behave, and you go ahead and define the specific style per subsection of your website. So you have QU, and then each college has its own style, but they share some common style defined by QU. And maybe the department can have its own style that shares the QU styles plus the CNG styles plus department specific style. And that's what it means, but that's what we mean by cascading. The last rule that applies is the winner style if there is a conflict. The other concept, super important concept in CSS is that we have the concept of inheritance. So if I come here, this is my QU style, and I'll come here to the, let's say to the body, and say, okay, in here I want to make the color, let's choose some other color, blue violet. Okay, so this is the default color. I applied it to the body element, and inside the body, what do I have inside the body as child elements? H1, P1, H2, and so on. So if I save, let me save. Yeah, so if I save, come back here. So everything changed the color to this blue violet, except this one is kind of sky blue or the normal blue. Why? Because we have more specific style that overrides the inherited style. So let's say, for example, let me change in here. How do we put text decoration underlined. Let's nobody will do this, but just to show you. Hopefully this will work. You see here, everything now is underlined. Everything, the text decoration underlined. Everything is underlined, including the title. So the H2 inherited the underline, but it overwrote the color. So this is the concept here of inheritance. If I apply a style to a parent element, all the child elements will have that style inherited. And this is super important for basically reusability and not needing to style every child element by itself. The things that are generic, you apply them to the parent, and the child will automatically get those styles. But the child has the ability to override some of those styles inherited from the parent. So this is the concept of inheritance. And you already saw that there is also the concept of precedence. We have here an element selector, and we have here a class selector, and the class selector win because it's more specific than the element selector. So, and not only this, it's combining. If there is no conflict, it still applies the inherited style. For the underline, there is no conflict, so the body style was applied. If there is a conflict, if I come to the title here and say text decoration, overline, and save. So here, interesting. I was not expecting this. Underline. Oh, okay, so this is cumulative. It's not overriding. Yeah, we can put more than one, yes. So you can see here, some are inherited from the parent, some but I can go ahead and basically override a specific. A child element can override the inherited style. Child element can override. Okay, very good. Yes, I think so. Yes. So, for example, here, let's call it content. For example, content. And then if I apply this, I'll go ahead and apply this to the body. I think it should inherit that as well. So class equal the content style. Yes. Save. Yeah. So the child elements inherit that style. Whether it is that style was defined using element selector or class selector or an ID selector, the children of that element will inherit the style. So that's the other concept that I wanted to discuss. So this. Sorry, can you say again? There is a way, of course, all this behave, you can stop it, and also some properties or some elements don't inherit those styles. So for example, if I come here and put an input box, so there are some exceptions to this inheritance. Some of the elements don't inherit the style of the parent. For example, if I have an input style, an input element, so let me come here and just create an input element. Input, and let's just put the value here. So I expect this to be kind of blue or inherit the style of the body, but it doesn't. So okay, it didn't save. Yeah, here it is. See here, it did not inherit the style from the body. For example, input do not inherit. I think I can make it inherit. Let me see. Let me see if I can do that. Is it called Q style? Yep. I can come here and say input. Let me see, color, inherit. Let me see, I haven't played with this too much. You see here, the color now inherit. So there is some default behavior. Anything we see in CSS, you can override it. You can control that behavior. But there is by default, the input elements do not inherit the style of the pattern. But you can change that default behavior. Okay. So this is the concept of inheritance. If you change a property on the parent, that change will be applicable to the child element. And the child element can override some of the properties inherited from the parent. That's an important concept. So to summarize, in terms of selectors, these are the selectors we have seen: element selectors, class selectors, and ID selectors. And the most common one, and the one recommended as much as possible, is to go for class selectors, because the class selector is more reusable. You can apply them to any elements. Of course, there are much more than this. Just to give you a taste, next time, inshallah, I will explain them in more details. Yes, you can see here. I can apply more than one class. So in here, yes, for example, in here, what I'm doing, I am applying the red and bold. So this will be red and bold, blue and bold, bold, blue. So I can apply more than one class to an element by separating them by space. Class equal multiple classes. I can also combine elements. I can say, if you see, I tell you the browser, if you see a div or a P, apply this style. And here, if you see a P, that is a descendant of a div. which means if you see a paragraph inside a div, go ahead and apply the style. And in here it says, if you see a paragraph as a direct child of div, not like a div and we have an article, then we inside an article we have a paragraph. In that case, don't apply the style. So you can, these are called combined selectors. Combined selectors. So for example, here, only apply this style to an anchor tag inside a list item. If there is an anchor tag that is not inside a list item, don't apply this style. So you can go with more sophisticated selectors that I will explain next time, inshallah. Thank you very much. We'll talk next time. Assalamu alaikum.